Hello there, friends, lovers, and subscribers. Adam Clery from FourFourTwo here, and I'm sorry I'm slightly late on the Mathys Tel the Tottenham video. You see, I've been really busy giving the cat who lives in my building 1,000 tiny kisses on his little head. Now, the major question that you no doubt have, because you clicked on this, is he a good signing for Tottenham Hotspur? And there are two ways of looking at that. The first is that he's a healthy human male with a beating heart, and currently no injuries to any of his soft muscle tissue, so yes, of course he is. That's all he needed. But the other way of looking at it is about style of play, individual strengths and weaknesses, and the needs Tottenham have, both creatively and defensively, yada, 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 and that is what this video's about, obviously. Right, actually, just to start, right, I'm going to roll back to the flippancy of my introduction there. I do think the fact that he is a healthy adult male with a beating heart, no soft muscle injuries, yada, 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 is actually quite relevant to this transfer because the importance of Tottenham's injury crisis cannot be sort of hand-waved away. And I know, obviously it's a very easy excuse and people get tired of hearing it and they probably should have done better with the players they do have available. He hasn't really helped himself out in terms of how he's handled the press. But there have been Tottenham sides, I know this wasn't quite the formation, but there have been Tottenham sides that looked like this season. They are so thin on the ground, getting anybody in is a good move. And just plus the fact it's a loan without the obligation but still with an option feels like a really, really good piece of business because you could potentially be excellent, but if you're an absolute disaster, at least they're not sort of lumbered with him. So he will contribute something, and it's quite low risk in terms of what that is. So well done, all involved there. But yes, said insight, the reason you're here. What will he contribute, Adam? Pray tell. Is he actually any good? And I'll explain by going sort of right to the very start with him, because if you're a Tottenham fan, the prospect of watching Bayern Munch last year might have been a slightly painful one, so I will not begrudge you knowing nothing about him. He is a 19-year-old French under-21 international who Bayern regarded as, and I'm quoting, one of the biggest talents in Europe when they signed him from Rennes for like 23 million in 2022. However, as you will no doubt be aware, it is now 2025, and said potential is yet to be fully realised. And I stress the fully there because he is obviously really good, but they thought he would be really, really, really good. 650,000 subscribers, and my insight occasionally boils down to really good versus really, really, really good. Best job in the world, this. Anyway, though, positionally speaking, and imagine this is Bayern Munich and not Tottenham, Tel plays anywhere across these front three positions. He has not, to the best of my knowledge, ever been a 10, but I should have checked that before I did the video. He likes to be on this left-hand side, cutting in, but he can play through the middle and he can play on the right. Last season, which you would regard as his breakthrough season at Bayern, he made 24 appearances on the left, 11 appearances through the middle, and 6 appearances on the right. But I must stress, almost all of those, the vast majority, were as a sub. Of the starts he made, 5 of them were on the left, 3 of them were through the middle, and 4 of them were on the right. So hard to say he's really nailed down a position, but a return of 10 goals from the minutes they provided, I actually think, is a very good return. And they're evenly spread as well. You got 2 of them on the left, 2 of them in the middle, and 2 of them on the right. Sorry, I'm bombarding you with a lot of numbers here very quickly, aren't I? I'll leave them on screen for a second, right? These are all his sort of appearances. He's a bit, then his starts, and then his goals. It's all there. Just sort of luxuriate in that for a second, bathe in it, let it get in all your pores. Oh, and also, final bit of data, he is right-footed, if that in any way factors into your opinion. But why then? Why all the hype around him? Why the big stonking lob on from Bayern 2.5 years ago? And why did Tottenham, Arsenal, Aston Villa, Chelsea, Man United all do that sort of unhooked jaw, wolf-faced tongue rollout thing from the mask when he came on the market? Well, 2 words for you, my friends. Physical profile. Or in Tottenham's case, 3 words for you, my friends. Physical profile, mate. You look at his numbers from last season, which you'd have to do because he barely had a kick this season, and you will see he's one of the most singular, straightforward, direct attacking players in all of Europe. He gets on the ball, he faces towards the goal, he faces up the defenders, and he goes right at you. He does not have an amazing bag of tricks because he doesn't really need them. He has unbelievable balance that allows him to change direction and just throw defenders all over the place. The guy nips around a football pitch like Goku. Like, the ability to just run at teams and physically make things happen that way. Like, he is undeniably elite at doing that. And he's not even what all of our dads would call, like, a headless chicken either. Because if you look at his, like, shot-creating actions and his goal-creating actions directly from take-ons, as well as just the amount of shots he manages to get himself, he's in the top tier for those numbers as well. And that's, like, kind of all you ever really want in a footballer, you know, something really simple and quite nice to watch, but also very effective. His finishing is also a major asset as well, like coming in off the left to make chances for himself or looking to get on the end of stuff at the back post when he's on the right. He's got a real eye for goal. If he does manage to cut in off the left and get onto his right foot, then he's got a real, I don't know what the German or French words for piss missile are, but he's got that in his locker, as well as a number of very good, tidy technical finishes with his weaker foot if he's sort of in and around the box, which is actually quite a useful asset to have if you're someone who prefers playing on the opposite side. And honestly, you would be surprised how few attackers have that nice sort of duality of technique, like the ability to take the colour off the ball with your strong foot, but still have enough like technique to have delicate finishes and be precise with your weaker foot. Like that's really good to have on your CV, that. And you put all of that together and you get this sort of really good goals versus XG number. I know a lot of people roll their eyes when they hear the words XG. They don't care about that particular bit of data, but just humour the lads, brackets, and me for a second here. If you look at the chances he got, how good they were according to the data, then the goals he got, he overperformed that number, which suggests, does not prove, but suggests he's a very good finisher. He's also, I don't think he gets the credit for this, very intelligent in terms of his movement in and around the box. Like, if you saw the goal he scored against Manchester United in the Champions League, which, again, everybody missed because of the Onana thing in that game, it's just so, it's bright as a button. I think he's in this central area here. Kimmich gets the ball, he's being marked by Casemiro, and he just has a look, right? And he realises that he's A, on the midfielder's blind side, and B, there's this huge gap between the defenders. He knows what Kimmich's going to try and do, and he times it so well with his explosive pace. Like, in a split second, he's gone. Casemiro is going to get there. Nobody's going to shut him down. And then, and this is why I keep saying he's a really good finisher, that first touch, just to let it land on your leg and roll in front of you, and then just sort of poke it into the roof of the net, it might not look it, right? But the calmness under pressure to do that finish at what was he been 18 at the time is like, that's unusual. That you should expect him to just lash at it first time or try and bring it perfectly under control. But instead, he's like, no, okay, this can just bump and then dump. It's so bump and dump. It's so casual, that. It's really impressive. In fact, despite his lack of minutes, if you go per minute last season, he gets better than 1 goal contribution per 90 minutes, which puts him in like the top 2% of all of Europe for that, which is like a crazy thing to be able to say about a player who's only got 253 minutes this season. Like 2 starts, a handful of sub-appearances, the majority of Bayern's games, he hasn't even got off the bench. So, and not to get all suspicious on you here, but why is that? Well, first and foremost, he's just playing for Bayern Munich, and he's in a part of the pitch where he's got Coman, Sane, Musiala, Elise, all for competition in those positions, and at all of them, he's the most raw and the most inexperienced. They've got Harry Kane up top as well, who he's never going to displace, and the third reincarnation of Thomas Muller coming off the bench, who can play pretty much anywhere in that forward line as well. So, not necessarily his fault he can't get a game. He's just in a team where games are very hard to come by. But on the other side of that consideration, it's fairly apparent that Vincent Kompany doesn't really trust him all that much. Like we said before, he's young, he's inexperienced, he's raw, he needs to develop, and as a result, his decision-making is the thing that quite often lets him down. Like we said, he's direct, he's straight to the point, he will drive a goal, but quite often, he will drive a goal when there are much better options available to him. Like if you go back to his numbers, the one stat that looks glaringly out of place when you consider how good he is the number of key passes. Like very rarely in a game of football does he lay a chance on for his teammates. And this might be a weird example to use because he actually scores a goal from it. It's very good. But if you rewind this goal to here, him going for goal on his own here is the worst of about 4 options. He has 3 teammates he could put in through one-on-one with the keeper, and he holds on to it. Like, I'm not being funny. If he does not put that in the back of the net, all three of these players are going to drag him back into the changing rooms and dunk his head down the worst toilet in that stadium. Goal or not, that is a shocking decision to make on a football pitch. But like I said, he is only 19. He needs minutes to develop, and the problem he's got is he's not at a club that are going to offer him those minutes. The talent is there. The raw ingredients definitely do exist, but he's where he is now because he can't get the minutes. And he can't get the minutes because he's where he is now, which is why he needed to leave. But now, my friends, that I've used the predictability word, which I did, it was a while ago, but I definitely did. This is a good segue. This is where I think the problem may occur for Spurs, because tactically speaking, he's a slightly awkward fit. If we look at his total heat map from the last season, first off, you'll see that he's quite comfortable playing on both sides and he gets into really good attacking areas. We know this already, but one thing you've kind of got to squint and look for is how he behaves in the wide areas. You will see that the closer these get to the goal, the more he's sort of drawn towards it. Very rarely does he end up in extreme wide positions. And that's because, as we've highlighted several times, what he wants to do is drive towards goal. So when he does start wide, like say here, for example, his path will almost always take him in this direction. He's not looking to get down the byline to open up these channels of space for other players. Now, this desire and this instinct to do that is going to be great when the games are open and they're back and forward and there's space to run into. Like, you will see him be an absolute monster in transition for Tottenham. But when they come up against a resolute defence who are sort of locked in, they've got their low block going on, that is not what Ange tends to want. Now, this is a gross oversimplification of how Tottenham play, and worse, it's a gross oversimplification of how the idealised Tottenham play, because half of these players have not been available all season. He's had to make adaptations. I hate when people say Ange doesn't make adaptations. He does them all the time, but this 4-2-3-1 they've kind of settled on now does, in the final third, sort of rotate into a 4-2-3-1, doesn't it? And from there, if you imagine Porro and Udogie, and of course, obviously they would have to be on the pitch for this to be relevant, but again, humour me, they want to make their runs inside, don't they? The usual objective with Ange Ball is to get these two players near the centre forward, either one or both, and then the width comes from the wide attackers. They stay out there, and then the fullbacks, usually untracked because their markers aren't going to go with them, get to operate in these half spaces. And trust me, my friends, when I say this, standing here so someone else can make the run, or you can put the cross in, or whatever, will be the last thing on Mathys Tel's mind. Last season, when he was at his best, and you got to pretend this is Bayern again, it was when he could go in field and Alphonso Davies would make these overlapping runs to pull defenders out of his path. So yes, in games that are incredibly open, which Tottenham do find themselves in an awful lot, he'll be incredibly useful, but against teams that need to be broken down systematically and patiently, he's going to have to come to an understanding very quickly with the people playing fullback, otherwise they're going to end up running into each other. And then finally, the big question, can he press? Can he do the really in-your-face stuff? And glad you asked. It's inconclusive, because Bayern don't really do that. And even in the games where they have done that, he hasn't really got the minutes to back that up. The data says that he does win an awful lot of tackles in the final third, but that's because the majority of Bayern's games are played almost exclusively in the opposition third. So it doesn't necessarily mean that he's got the energy, the drive, and the mentality to play a high-pressing system, but if he does have the mentality, the drive, and the energy to play a high-pressing system, he's probably got the physical tools to be very good at that. But then again, it's Ange, isn't it? Like, I would do it for Ange. I would run screaming into the shins of my own mother if Ange told me that she probably had a loose touch when she's on her weaker foot. So, we'll see. Anyway, though, I enjoyed that. Did you enjoy that? Good. Well, leave us a comment down below then and let us know how excited you are about Mathys Tel or Mathys Tel, or just tell me how you actually pronounce his first name, because I've heard both. You can get me across all the social medias at Adam Clery, Clery, and you know how most people's New Year's resolution is like, I'm going to do loads less social media this year. I'm the opposite. I'm going to do loads more, so make sure you're following me here, there, everywhere, and that other one, and we'll do fun things together. 442 socials are in the corner of the video. That's where they always are, and the magazine is available from all good retailers, because that's where it always is. You can always subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, because when we see that we got loads of subscribers from a video, we're like, oh, that club talking about was good. Maybe we talk about that club again. So Tottenham fans, you want more Tottenham content? That's the more Tottenham content button. But yes, I've rambled on far too long now. I'm desperate for my lunch and I want to squeeze that little cat's face up all again. So I'm going to leave it there for now. Goodbye, 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 goodbye.